Welcome back to another spectacular Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. How's everybody doing today? Glad you are here with us tonight, today, wherever you're watching us from, whether it's from the Facebook Live, from our YouTube channel, Petroglyphs in the Sky, the Phoenix Lights, or on your television there. Welcome back to the show. The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, the only place where we dive deep into what the Phoenix Lights really is and the history behind the Phoenix Lights, along with the history of Phoenix, Arizona. This is stuff that you will not hear anywhere else but this show. Archaeologist doesn't talk about the stuff that I've discovered out there. And so yeah, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe below. And yeah, so let's get into it. So I have another page. It's called Haunted Encounter Adventures, where we go out there, and if you're into paranormal and ghost hunting and stuff like that, you're gonna love this channel. Make sure you go out and check out Haunted Encounter Adventures, and please subscribe to that channel also if you're into ghost hunting and stuff like that. So lots of neat stuff there. Haunted Encounter Adventures. Please subscribe. Okay, here's my book, The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. Now, this book dives deep into what the Phoenix Lights is, what's the history of Phoenix, Arizona that has been covered up for the last 80 years. And, you know, I'm a native here in Phoenix. I was born and raised. And, you know, I wasn't taught all this stuff growing up. I had to learn all this information on my own because the archaeologist isn't talking about this stuff. But yet, clearly, all the information and what the Phoenix Lights really is and the explanation to it all is carved on the mountains around Phoenix, Arizona. They are called petroglyphs, and they're the first rock art from the first Native Americans who first lived here in Phoenix, Arizona, called the Hohokam Indians. Hohokam Indians. Now, the Hohokam is a Pima name for the people who are gone, the people who are missing, because we don't know exactly what happened to these people. At least the archaeologist wants you to believe that. Investigating the Phoenix Lights, investigating the true history of Phoenix, Arizona, hiking the mountains for like 20 years now, especially South Mountain, because South Mountain is the key of seeing UFOs here in Phoenix, Arizona. It is the heart, it is the key, it is the source of it all, of the Phoenix Lights. I talk about this in my book. Now, not only did I discover all this stuff, but the first park ranger of South Mountain, Charles Holbrook, he knew about all this stuff back in the 1930s. So when he died in the late 40s, all his information, his information on how he was protecting the gold tombs that are out there on South Mountain, left by the Hohokams, left by the Mayans. And he talks about, you know, these spirits of the earth and sky. All this stuff is in this journal, right? And he talks about all this stuff. His son, later when he dies, his son writes a book about his father, saying how his father used to chase people off South Mountain looking for the gold that's still buried on the mountains of South Mountain. So there's so much credibility to this research. There's so much credibility in this adventure, if you will, that I've done over the last 15 to 20 years now, investigating the Phoenix Lights and understanding Arizona's past, Arizona's history, Phoenix, Arizona's history, and so all this information is in the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1. And I think Volume 2 is probably all the shows that I've been doing. So we're going to dedicate this show to talking about South Mountain, to talking about what the Phoenix Lights really is. Not hearsay from some out-of-towner who has no idea what's going on, who's never been on the mountains, who's never, seen these lights up close, who just doesn't understand anything. But a true native, from Phoenix, Arizona. I was born and raised here. I've been seeing these UFOs ever since I was a kid in the Arizona skies. So I was kind of brought up with this stuff. That's what made me go on a hunt, on a quest to find out exactly what is going on in our skies, not only Phoenix, Arizona, but your skies as well. Because this information just doesn't, lie here in Phoenix, Arizona. It goes beyond. It's the world's history when you look at it in a bigger picture, because it's all the same stories. The petroglyphs on the mountains, it's carved. They're telling stories of basically Earth's history. It's the same type of carvings that we find all over the world. It's the same story, just maybe told a little different. But it all boils down to these beings in the sky, these creatures in the sky, these spirits of the earth and sky who has always been here on planet Earth, who has always interacted with mankind in their time of need. That's basically the big picture here of what's going on in our skies. So check out my book, Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits. Yeah, check it. You can pick it up on eBay, and I think it's on. Oh, I can't think of it now. Don't you hate it when your mind goes blank? That's why live shows are live shows, because it's crazy. It's neat when people make mistakes. Okay, so ebooks, that's right. Duh. That's what I'm looking for. Find it on ebooks. Find it on Amazon and eBay, stuff like that. Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. Okay. So check out these guys here, For Real Watchers Radio Show. Jerry and Brett, these guys are awesome. If you guys have any things that you want to talk about, as far as, ghosts or UFOs or anything like that, tell them Jeff Woolwine sent you. They're great people. They'll have you on their show. Make sure you follow their channel on YouTube. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much for sponsoring me and so much for sharing my shows on your shows. And great job, you guys. You guys rock. All righty then. Okay, what else do we got going on here? Somewhere. We'll find it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Well, now I can't. Now I seem to have lost. Well, I seem to have lost one thing. So what I wanted to talk about is Vulture City Mines. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick. Vulture City Mines, Paracon Part 2. Excuse me while I pull up this real quick, because somehow it got deleted from the page. So we will just add it right back in here. How about that? Here we go. Ready? Bam. Oh my. Vulture City Paracon Part 2 coming at you live. Paracon Part 2, Wickenburg, Arizona, October 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2001. Come on out and check us out. We're gonna be doing a ghost hunt out there, and there's gonna be tons of live speakers. I mean, every time I look on their Facebook page, Jane Marie Yates, I see more guests arriving that's gonna be there. So get your tickets early. October 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2001, Vulture City Paracon Part 2, Wickenburg, Arizona. Come on out. Say hi. I'll be out there doing the first ever UFO sky watching. We're going to be hunting UFOs out there. First time ever. I'll be speaking out there, talking about the Phoenix Lights, talking about the petroglyphs, things like this. Come on out, bring your books. I'll be signing autographs. Let's do a meet and greet. Let's talk about UFOs. Let's do a ghost hunt together. It's going to be a great time, great show. Vulture City, Paracon Part 2, Wickenburg, Arizona, October 8th, 9th, and 10th of this year, 2001. Make sure you get your tickets early. Tickets are going fast. come on out and say hi and contact Jamie Yates for your tickets, and contact the Vulture City Mines also to get tickets. Okay, so a little bit of the history here in Phoenix, Arizona. So I know I always talk about it, but we need to really get this information out. So, like I said before, Hohokam is a Pima word. It's the Pima Indians. And the Pimas consider themselves ancestors to the Hohokam Indians. So does the Tohono O'odham tribe. That's pretty hard to say. Tohono O'odham. Yeah, tribe. So, and I really think that the Tohono O'odham is more inclined to be ancestors to the Hohokam Indians, and more than the Pimas. But the Pimas also consider themselves ancestors to the Hohokams, and the Hohokams is actually a Pima name for the people who went missing, the people who got taken away. Because we don't know what happened to these people. They were simply here they were here for 1,000 years. They were masters of the canal systems, and I'm going to show you some canals. I'll show you one canal anyway that's still there on the mountains of South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona, built by the Hohokam Indians. And matter of fact, we still use some of them canals also today in our big city. So they're more deeper and they're more filled in with concrete, but it's the same grid. It's the same grid that the Hohokams used for their canals. We use today, and that's how this grid of the canals was just so complex and so evident of today. Because we still use it today. So that's how great these Hohokam people were on building these canals, because we still use them today. So they were here for 1,000 years. Archaeologists say that that they were here for 1,000 years, and they were peace-loving people, and they never went to war with anybody. And for 1,000, and they were masters of the canal systems. And after 1,000 years, it got too hot, so they simply migrated somewhere else. But when you really examine that story, it completely doesn't make any sense. And I don't know how he's getting by, these archaeologists for the last, 80, 90 years or something, of getting away with this, because it just doesn't make any sense, and if something doesn't make sense, then to me, it's not credible, And so let's look at the picture here. So they simply migrated somewhere else, right? Where'd they go? Well, that's the key. That's the trick here. That's the thing. We don't know where they went. So if they went somewhere, we'd be able to follow them, don't you think? Even when you and I move, we take our belongings with us. But yet the Hohokams didn't. They left everything in its place and simply vanished off the face of the earth. Now, this is around the same time period when other tribes around the earth simply were here one day and gone the next. It's the same type of story. The Hohokams here in Phoenix, Arizona disappeared at the same time. All these other tribes around the world disappeared also. And what's the story to that? What happened to them? Well, word of mouth from the Native Americans and from what the petroglyphs are carved or saying on the mountains around Phoenix, Arizona, is they didn't walk away from this land. They were taken away by this land. By the land? They were taken away from this land. And who took them away? Well, when you examine the stories on the mountain and you understand the petroglyphs, because I had a shaman from a Native American museum in Phoenix, Arizona, take me up there and explain to me what these petroglyphs are talking about. Explain to me about the spirals and things like this. So, my credibility is secure, because I'm not just saying, I'm just not saying this to be saying this, dude. I've been looking this stuff up. I've been doing this for many, many years. And so it's not just my opinion here. So this story has always been here. It's just been overlooked, covered up, not talked about, or misinformation. And so this is what I'm here to bring back, this information, because a lot of people just don't understand, or they're not looking into it, or they just don't know. So I'm bringing this information to you. And, you know, I was thinking other stuff too. I'm thinking spaceships and green guys and Alpha Centauri and men from Mars and blah, blah, and coming down to Earth and people and spaceships and crafts. And, you know, I was thinking that too at the beginning. But the evidence and everything that was, you know, seemed to me to be credible, all the credible evidence I was finding was leading me down another path, taking me down another road. And it wasn't anything to do with crafts or gray guys or Indians keeping alien babies in their closets or anything like that. You know, it was something completely different. We're talking about like living entities, living beings, living creatures, if you will. Especially on the mountains, on South Mountain and the mountains around Phoenix, Arizona, because they talk about these carvings, talking about the exact same stuff that we're seeing in the skies today. And in no way, shape, or form are they depicting crafts or flying saucers or mechanical mechanisms that fly and have lights and all this crap. Nothing like that whatsoever. Matter of fact, I haven't found any evidence of this anywhere that I've been searching doing in this type of UFO field, this UFO kind of information. I see a lot of fake stuff, a lot of people trying to make you believe into this stuff. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any evidence. So is crafts real? Possibly. Have I found any evidence of this? No. But I'm open. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see a real flying saucer. I'm waiting to see a real spaceship. You know, because the scientists have said, you know, there's 7 like Earth planets outside of our solar system, and wants to say, you know, that someone, you know, that someone lives up there and has the technology to build a craft and a flying saucer to come investigate Earth or visit Earth and stuff like that. So I'm open to it. Yeah, I'm waiting for that to happen. I'm waiting to see it. I want that to happen, you know. Because I want to believe, you know, in spaceships and crafts, and that'd be great to see. But what I'm filming out here, what I'm seeing out here in Phoenix, and what I'm seeing around the world is something completely different. And because of this information of flying saucers and crafts and gray guys and being abducted and aliens in the closets and stuff, you know, it's just, it's overpowering the truth here. You know, it's taken away from the evidence. I think it's a type of cover-up. You know, so all these people saying crafts and this and that, they're part of the problem here. You know, either they just don't understand or they do understand, like the government, you know, in some of these cable shows where they're telling you spaceships and crafts and gray guys, when the evidence never suggested this at all. When we see these statues out here, especially like in Mexico, where, you know, you got guys in space helmets and guys in mechanical crafts, right? Especially over there at the sarcophagus of the moon pyramid in Mexico. You'll see on the top of his sarcophagus a Mayan. Is it an alien? No, it's a human. It's a human Mayan. Okay, and he's in a spaceship, right? He's got the. You guys know what I'm talking about. He's got the thing in his nose and his hand on the controls and his feet next to the, you know, some pedals or whatever, and there's fire coming down. Now that's a spaceship, right? You see? Is it an alien flying that thing? No. Look at some of these statues. Look at some of the art. When you examine the art, you see a man in a helmet, not a bug-eyed alien. So that should really tell you something here that, you know, wait a minute. It's very possible, and I believe this, that man reached the heavens, reached the moon, way before we documented it, you know, back in the 1970s or 60s. Thousands of years ago, I believe that man had walked on the moon. Just because of the evidence suggests this. From the art, from the Native American art, from the Mayan art, from other arts around the world. Real stuff, not the fake stuff. You know, because there's a lot of fake paintings out there, a lot of fake carvings, a lot of fake UFOs and this and that. That's nonsense, dude. We have to look at what we can prove. And the sarcophagus over there on the moon pyramid isn't interesting. It's the moon pyramid. A moon pyramid in Mexico. And the guy that's buried in there has a sarcophagus of maybe him building a mechanical spaceship to reach the moon. How did he learn all this? He learned this from the beings of the sky, of the earth and sky, from these creatures, not aliens from another world. These creatures, these beings that we see, the Phoenix Lights, all these orbs and snakes and diamonds and stuff, that weird stuff in the sky that we see, credible stuff. Not fake crafts, not fake flying saucers, not fake alien babies in closets, but the stuff that we can prove, the stuff that we see for our own eyes, like especially like these lights, the Phoenix Lights. They have always been here on Earth. This is their planet also. They're not from another world. This is their planet also. They have always been here. That's what the Native Americans say. They go up on the mountains. They talk to the spirits. They're talking to the Phoenix Lights. Talking to these creatures of the sky. There's a lot of misleading information out there that just doesn't make sense. So the stuff that does make sense is the stuff that not only do we see with our own eyes, we see the carvings on the wall that match the stuff that we see, and also some of these, ancient texts from the Sumerians or the Anunnakis and things like that, or even the stuff that we read in the Bible. I mean, come on, this is Earth's history here. All right, this is where the information can be found at. It's great because we can read the text that's been written 3,000 to 7,000 years old, and then we can go up on the mountains and see the prehistoric photographs of the exact same thing. Oh my God. And then we see it for our own eyes, right? We see this shit for our own eyes, and then we're like, dude, hello? A lot of people think, oh my God, there's a light up there, it's a spaceship, it's a craft, there's a green guy inside of it. Ah! No. See, that light up there, that is a living creature. That is a living being. I first discovered this in 2005 when these creatures were coming off the mountain and over my apartment, and I've been filming these things, and they fly right by my window. Check out my UFO videos, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky YouTube channel. Make sure it says the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. Just Petroglyphs in the Sky, that is not me. That's somebody acting like me, and I'm right in the middle of talking with YouTube to get that channel removed because that is not me. So make sure it says the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. Subscribe to that. So you'll see these creatures coming off of South Mountain or landed on South Mountain or going in South Mountain. Oh, yes, I said in South Mountain. Because these spirals that are carved out there are symbols of doorways. It's like the spirals when you're looking down into a hole, man. You're looking down into a hole. It's a spiral. You're looking down into it. You're looking down into a vortex. It's a spiral vortex door. It's carved all over South Mountain. Like 60% of the petroglyphs out there on South Mountain are doorways for the spirits, for these creatures, for the Phoenix Lights. South Mountain is the heart. South Mountain is the key because of what's underneath South Mountain. South Mountain was created by a fault line. South Mountain was created by a volcano. And also all these other mountains around Phoenix. There's fault lines there all over the place. That's why it's a magnet. That's what draws these creatures to this mountain, especially South Mountain. South Mountain used to be called Mount Sepoa, Mountain of Mercy, because all the tribes of Indians from all over the nations used to gather right here in this valley, way back in the day, about 1,000 to 2,000 years ago. All the tribes, this was a popular place. They all came here for hunting and gathering, for worshiping. They worship these lights in the sky, and for sacrifice. I've discovered so many altars out there. Archaeologists doesn't talk about this, but I brought down the proof with the photographs, all this evidence, And how did they get here? They probably followed the lights, just like what I did. I followed the lights in 2004. The lights were going towards South Mountain. I followed them to the mountain. And from there, I watched them during the daytime. I understood what they looked like, what they were. I went up on the mountains to understand them, to see, to read, to look at their photographs, to understand what they were. From the first people who dealt with these Phoenix lights in the beginning, the Hohokam Indians. The proof is on the mountains. It's not just some story or some Indian on peyote. No, this is true factual evidence. These are UFO sightings to us. They're telling us, man. They're telling us about this formal civilization that rose up from the fiery bird. The Phoenix. The Phoenix rose up from the ashes of these people, man. That's why they call them Phoenix. But the archaeologists, they're not telling you where these people are, who these people are. They're blowing so much smoke up people's ass, it's not even funny. I dealt with this archaeologist before. I read his books. He's so full of shit, you know? So this is not credible. He is misleading the public. And why? Why is he doing that? Well, for one, there are tombs up there on South Mountain. There is gold tombs up there. And you know what else they did now? Why would the government make South Mountain a government park, a government mountain? That is just, why would they? Why didn't they make, you know, the White Tank Mountains a government mountain? Why didn't they make Shaw Butte Mountain a government mountain? You know, why didn't they make North Mountain Feet and North Mountains? Why pick on South Mountain? What's so special about South Mountain? Why did they make South Mountain a government park? Because there's stuff there that they don't want you to find, that they don't want you to dig up. And I brought the evidence of the photographs, and I've been out there. I've seen it. I discovered it. And the first park ranger, Charles Holberg, in the 1930s, his documents backs up everything that I found out there on South Mountain. This isn't anything new. This information has always been there. It's been covered up. It's been lost in history. Until I found it. Not only did I discover it on the mountains first, and I'm like, dude, what is the problem here? Why isn't the archaeologist talking about this tomb over here? Why isn't the archaeologist talking about this sacrificing altar over here? You know, why isn't this archaeologist talking about how the light and shadow and all these markers, you know, from the equinox and the solstice, and how they cast Indian profile faces and shadow through spirals and stuff? What is up with this archaeologist, dude? Why? Why isn't he even talking about Charles Holberg? Why? You know, when it's all there. And then you go to the library, like I did, because I went to go find out more information. Because that's what a true investigator does. He investigates everything. He just doesn't rely on hearsay. Oh, a spaceship went over the valley, 1997, March 13th. There's a craft. A mile-wide craft went over Phoenix. Oh, my God. Do you really believe in this? Come on now. Where's the evidence? Where's the video? Do we have... It's been over 20 years. Do we have one shed of proof, of evidence, of anything suggesting something flew over Phoenix? No, man. We have a lot of hearsay from people trying to get on the news, from people trying to make movies and documentaries and sell books and movie tickets and Harkins Theater and stuff like that. Man, come on now. If you're going to make a fantastic claim, you must be able to back up what you're saying. I'm sorry, dude. That's just it. You can't go in and say a spaceship flew over Phoenix and you have no proof. How have you been doing this for all these years? And now what? It went from... 1,000 people witnessed, now to 2,000 people, now to 100,000 people. Now everybody saw this craft go over Arizona, right? This story just keeps getting bullshittier and bullshit and bullshit and bullshit. You know, it's like grade school. You know, little Tommy went over there and skinned his knee. Now he had to go to the nurse's office. Well, by the time it goes around the whole damn school, oh my God, Tommy lost his leg. He's in the hospital. He's dying. He's got to have heart surgery. Oh my God, he's going to lose his arms and his other leg. And oh my God, dude, what the fuck, man? Come on now. You have to examine the facts here. You know, someone's going to come out and say a spaceship went over Phoenix. Got to have some proof here, because that's a very fantastic claim. And you can't go writing books about it, and you can't go selling movie tickets about it. You're misleading the public. You're as bad as the government. You are part of the problem. Okay? You haven't done your research. You haven't done your studies. You haven't looked into the history of Phoenix, Arizona. That's just bullshit, dude. You can't do that. You can't mislead people like this. You have to examine the facts. And the facts show that only lights on the west side of Phoenix, Arizona happened that night. Come on now. Dude, I just get, it's just crazy. It's just crazy on how many people are buying into this when there's no evidence here. And they're not even looking at the petroglyphs. They're not even looking at the history of Phoenix here. They're not understanding any of this. They're taking some hearsay from someone who didn't even, who's not born and raised in Phoenix and has never even seen, these stuff, when they were a kid like I have. And they're taking the word of this person, and it's like, dude, you just can't do that, man. I was on the mountain. I discovered all this stuff. I went to the Phoenix Library. I dug up this folder that has been buried for 80 years in the government department, and it talks about the first park ranger, and it's got all this stuff, and it talks about, how the park ranger called this city the lost city of Cibola, the lost city of gold. He knew that the Spanish conquistador was here looking for the lost city of Cibola, because this was part of one of the lost cities. Charles Holbrook, the park ranger, knew this, that the archaeologist doesn't even want to admit that the Spanish even arrived here in Phoenix. Look at my book. I have tons of photographs here, not hearsay words. I have tons of photographs of what I found up there on South Mountain. Okay? They're colored photographs, not black and white drawings like the archaeologist has in his book, but colored photographs. I show you what's on South Mountain in my book. Okay? And it talks about a story between the Spanish conquistadors and the Indians that had a battle up there. And I found the artifacts of this battle. I found the horseshoes left by the Spanish conquistador. And I found the gold, or not the gold, but the coins that were dropped there during this battle. It's all on South Mountain. All this evidence is on South Mountain. But the archaeologist doesn't want to tell you this. He wants you to believe something else happened, and all the evidence is up there. This is the reason why they made government. That's the reason why they made South Mountain a government park, is because they don't want you going up there and finding this stuff like I did. I took photographs of it and I left it there. Because I don't need the items personally. I don't need it. Leave it there for history. Leave it there for someone else to come around and verify my story. Take photographs of it and bring it home. Bring it down off the mountain. Bring the evidence down the mountain. Bring the sacred scrolls down from the mountain and present them to you. It's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm bringing all this information down and I'm bringing it into you for you to investigate it. All this information, you can find it on my website. Those of you who are following my my YouTube page, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, all my UFO videos, all the videos there, on the descriptions down below, there's a link to my website. And you can see how Charles Holbrook, the whole writings there of Charles Holbrook, when he calls this, the first thing he says, man, is the lost city of Cibola, the lost city of gold. And so after he died, in the late 40s, all his information was tucked away. So they dedicated a trail after him, Holbrook Trail. Woo! Oh wow! And they also named his lookout because he had a lookout peak. There's a peak up there, and he used to stand up there looking for people, looking for the gold. They don't tell you that, but that's what his peak, that's what his lookout peak was for. He strategically put it up there because there's gold tombs, there's gold stuff buried around where he's looking after. And they named that after him, Lookout Peak. Holbrook's Lookout, I believe it called it. But that's it. That's all they talk about Holbrook. They don't tell you what he did, what he was protecting, how he handed out flyers, talking about how the mines were here in Phoenix, talking about how the gold is buried in the tombs, talking about the sacrificing, talking about how the gold that's buried on South Mountain is as tall as the highest saguaro cactus and as round as the sun. You know, oh my God, dude. And how did he learn all this? Because the Native Americans told him all this. They showed him all the tombs that was there on South Mountain. And what to protect, because they said the spirits of the earth and sky, aka Phoenix Lights, is watching the gold tombs on South Mountain and waiting for the Mayans to return someday to claim it. That's the big picture here. The gold, the Phoenix Lights, watching the gold there. And what happened to the Hohokam Indians? Okay, what happened to them? How'd they come up missing? You know, as I told you, there's sacrificing going up here, the altars. Look at my book. Look at my website. Search my name on the internet. You can find all this information on me. You might find some pictures that I posted of the altars. I'm all over the internet. And so the story goes, so when the Hohokams first got here, in this desert, and it wasn't a desert at that time, it was a tropical-like landscape, and you know, just as I followed the lights to the mountain, I'm sure that's what happened with these Hohokam Indians and the Mayans. You know, some people think that the Mayans are the Hohokams, which is possible. You know, the Tohono O'odham tribe, that could be part of the Mayans also. You know, I'm open to that. I'm game to that, man. I kind of believe that in a way. You know, so sure, you know, the Mayans are here. Why not? Because this was part of Mexico. Arizona was a part of Mexico back in the day. So why not? Yes, the Mayans are going to come here. And how did they get here? Why did they get here? Why did they pitch camp here in Phoenix, you know, in front of this mountain? I believe because they followed the lights to this sacred mountain. Just like I did. The lights showed me where to go. I followed them. I sat by the mountain for 2.5 years. I learned, I watched, I understood. And I believe that's what happened with the Hohokams and the Mayans. They followed the lights to this mountain, and they lived here for 1,000 years. And they worshiped these things as gods, and they performed sacrifice. Now, this went on for 1,000 years. And so the story goes in which Charles Holbrook writes on how he learned this from the Native Americans at his time. And this is a story that's been told. You know, it's been told, retold, and retold, and retold, you know, for 1,000 years. You know, so the original Native Americans here in this valley, they know because their mom told them, and their grandparents told them, and their great-great-grandparents told them, and their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents told them, and so on and so on and so on. So this story is all the way up to where we have now, especially Charles Holbrook and the Indians told them, look, there was sacrificing going on here until one day they stopped the sacrifice for reasons unknown. That's when the land started to become dry and wasteland. That's when the water stopped flowing down the waters of the mountains. That's when all the things started to dry up. The water was starting to get scarce. It was become a desolate land, a dried up, dead land. Because they stopped the sacrifice, the blood of mankind dripping down this sacred mountain. You know, when we read these ancient texts and these biblical texts, it says that, you know, they only mention one mountain, Mount Hermon, where these things were cast down at, where these Nephilim were cast down at. You know, but it just wasn't Mount Hermon. It was many, many mountains around the whole earth. And, you know, it's right here on these energy spots. This is the reason why we find pyramids on these places around these energy fault lines or ley lines. You know, it's because it's an energy source. It's an energy symbol. And so, and it's a mountain. It's a pyramid mountain. It's an energy source mountain. And so these things from the sky, from the heavens, were cast down to earth on these sacred mountains, on these special mountains around the earth. And Phoenix, Arizona, is one of them. South Mountain was one of them, where these things were cast out of heaven at. When you read the scrolls, when you understand the petroglyphs, because it talks about it, like it talks about the giants. We see the prehistoric photographs of the giants on South Mountain. We can see the evidence of the giants on South Mountain. Go back on some of my past shows. I talk about the giants and how there were giants here in this valley. And I found the proof of them. And that's another thing that kind of makes everything kind of credible, because we can read 3,000 to 7,000 year old texts, and then we can go up on the mountains and we can see the photographs. Then we go up there and see the proof, right? We see the evidence of what the giants did. And it's spectacular stuff, because there's no way in hell that a puny little human is going to go out there and make these huge big ass boulders put in place. Even some of our construction cranes to this day couldn't pick up these boulders and make them in place and like a wall, or teeter-totter them, these square big huge carved out boulders, to make them teeter-totter on the side of a cliff without it falling down. How the hell did they do that? But yet it's there. It's been sitting there for over 1,000 years. So you look at all this evidence here. You look at the tombs and these huge boulders thrown into the entrance place, so you can't get into it because a huge boulder that weighs a few tons is in your way. How the hell did it get there? All this evidence of giants, all the evidence of the Nephilim coming down, to Phoenix is there. So the sacrificing stopped, stuff started drying up. And then the Native Americans say that the devil came from the east and took these people away. The carvings on the rock depict these prehistoric photographs of these orbs. We're going to show you one. We're going to show you a photograph of what I'm talking about, a petroglyph photograph of what happened, of these orbs coming down with these lines, not balloons, but these lines coming down from these orbs, from these Phoenix lights, and picking these people up and taking them off into the sky. This is a big cover-up, a big conspiracy here in Phoenix, Arizona, on what these Phoenix lights is, on the history of Phoenix, Arizona. This isn't going to be told anywhere else, but from right here on this show, and also for you investigating what I'm talking about, and going up there on South Mountain and witnessing this stuff for yourself, examining the proof that I've come down with. If you can't get to the mountain, then I bring the mountain to you in my books, in my shows like this, all the stuff that I've been doing for the last 20 years. I'm bringing all this information to you to examine the facts. Look what I've discovered here. Now you make up your mind. Look at the evidence. The evidence say giants were here. Evidence say Nephilim came down. Evidence say they're shape-shifting, morphine entities. Not spaceships from another planet, but this planet too. They shapeshift. They like to look like people. Some people call them lizard people. They shapeshift into diamonds and lights and orbs and serpents and Quetzalcoatl and stuff like that. I'm telling you, man, that stuff is true. I've seen it. And the photographs on the mountains back me up. And the Charles Holbrook, he backs me up. The Native Americans back me up. My videos back me up. There's the history here. Everything is there. You just have to look at it. Examine the facts, not hearsay of a spaceship going over Phoenix. But look at what we can prove here. Look at what history says these lights are. History says these lights are living entities, living creatures. And they were the result of mankind's downfall. This is what happened to the Hohokam Indians. They were taken away by these beings in the sky, by these creatures in the sky. Now, if the government actually came out and told you all this, that's why there will never ever be a disclosure. All these people, the government's finally gonna come on and tell us. Yeah, everyone's seeing them. More and more is coming. That's why everybody's seeing them, and now they're pulling up files from stuff that's been filmed, 15 years ago. They're finally talking about it, because yeah, something is here. Yeah, they can't deny it now, because at first it was, weather balloons, and then it came military flares, and then it came, just off the wall bullshit or whatever, and so now they're going to come out and start saying, okay, well, yeah, there's something here, but they're spaceships, they're crafts. That is the next conspiracy. That is the next cover up. That is the next thing that they're going to say that these things are. They're going to call these things spaceships and crafts, because they know these things are alive. They know these things isn't technology. They know these are living beings. These are living creatures. These are living animals. They're not going to say that. You're not going to say, hey, the history of the world says that these beings, took people away back then. They're not going to say that. So they're gonna make you believe that these are spaceships, and that is technology and people inside these spaceships from another planet. Why? Why are they telling you this? Well, because that's been the cover story for all these years now. That's been, what everybody has been saying. And plus, it's what people can understand. They understand technology. They understand nuts and bolts. They understand, electroids and little, another life form, another alien, in a spaceship, coming, flying around the sky. They can cope with that. But if you come out and say, look, these are living entities, man, and they're changing shape, and they have the capabilities of going down into the mountains, they're going down into the mountains, and they can shape shift or whatever, and they can fly, all right, and they sparkle with lights and this and that. They're not going to understand this. That's why I'm preparing you. That's why I'm setting you guys up for what's to come. What is actually here. I'm getting you guys informed. Look, this is another information that has been covered up. The story has always been here. It's not this isn't just my opinion. It's not my opinion. It's what history's been saying all these years, for thousands and thousands of years. Look at the evidence. Spaceships? Nope, no evidence of that. Living creatures, living beings? Yeah. That's where the evidence and the credibility is coming from. The carvings, the texts, what we see in the skies, the oral traditions of what? The first people who lived on this land. They ought to know. Maybe we should start believing in them, because they know, dude. They were here before us. This is their land, not ours. We're just like migrants, dude. We invaded their land, So why not listen to the Native Americans when they're telling you, at least some of them that understand. A lot of them won't even talk to you about this because it's such a taboo subject. Then some want you to believe that their grandfather had an alien in the closet. Yeah, I've talked with some, a lot of people I've talked to in my investigations on this. I've talked to so many people, talked to so many Native Americans, and I learned that the ones that do not want to talk about this subject, are the ones that you want to talk to, okay? Because they know it's taboo. They know it's a scary thing. This is why the government will never come out and tell you exactly what is here, because their history is showing something catastrophic. Is showing something very, very scary. If the government came out and told you, yeah, these creatures are coming and going from South Mountain out here, and they're flying serpents, and they're creatures that shapeshift and they go on the mountain, and in a way that would kind of cause a panic, and they're telling by the way, people, these lights that you see now, the Phoenix lights, that everybody saw back in 1997, they took people away. Oh, and let me tell you that this has been going on way before 1997. It's been going on for 1,000 years, even longer. It's still going on today. They are still visiting that mountain. This is nothing new. The Phoenix lights is not a visitor to Phoenix. This is their home. They were here before me, before mankind. They were here way before people were here. This is what the petroglyphs depict. This is what the oral traditions say. This is what the biblical texts say. This is what ancient scrolls say. All this evidence is saying that It's something completely different. And so when someone comes out and starts making this fantastic claim, you really have to look, at what they're saying, because do they have any evidence? Do they have any proof? Okay, anybody can go off and say, the spaceship went over Phoenix. Okay. And I just can't believe on how many people are believing that when there's no evidence. The evidence we have of 4 people videotaping lights way the hell across the way from the valley and on the west side of Phoenix. If 4 people can film lights on the west side of Phoenix, why couldn't 4 people film a spaceship going over the Phoenix going 8 miles an hour? This just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so yeah, we got some great videos for you to show you also of these lights in the sky. And, like I said, it's not just here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's all over the world, man. These lights, this is their planet too. These creatures in the sky, it's their world also, man. And so they follow the sun, they follow the fault lines, they follow the energy pattern during the changes of the seasons. I discovered this the first, few years I was watching South Mountain out there. 5, 6, and 7. 2005, 6, and 7. I noticed that these creatures were coming and going from South Mountain. These lights, these beings, these flying serpents, these orbs, these diamonds. On certain seasons, on certain months. And then some would leave, and then some would come back, and there would be a real heavy presence. And then after the sun would move in the sky during the equinox or the solstice, the sun would change positions in the sky. And so these creatures would follow the sun's energy pattern. When the sun got into the right position of these energy lines, of these fault lines, it opened up these doorways. It attracts these beings to these spaces, to these areas. This is why all over the world we have these monuments oriented towards the equinox and the solstice, sunrise and sunset and things like that. Archaeologist wants to say, well, it's time to plant corn. It's not time to plant corn. It's a calendar. It's a celestial calendar on when these creatures will be seen, on what months and what days, and it's a calendar. It's a UFO calendar. That's basically what it is. All right, it's not telling you, oh, it's time to plant corn. It's telling you when these creatures will be back. And some petroglyphs or geoglyphs and cave paintings and stuff like that on these equinox and solstice markers, they put a symbol there telling you what to look for. Either a flying serpent, a flying diamond, or an orb, or something next to a spiral. That's what they're telling you to look for. That's a photograph of what to look for in the days to come after this equinox. So yeah, we have some videos I want to show you that happened. I think one happened in Canada. I'm really not too sure on what other where this other video was filmed at. And so somebody sent it to me from a TikTok app or something like that. So yeah, we're going to show you that. But let's talk about these petroglyphs real quick, because we've got a lot of petroglyphs to go over. Okay, so I was in one of my last shows, I was talking about how the equinox and the solstice and the shadow panels and stuff like that. So this is part of it. This is on the east side of South Mountain. Okay, so I was talking about how on the east side of South Mountain, there's some petroglyphs there, or these rock formations that look like a serpent. Those of you who've been watching my shows, I talk about, I show a serpent that was carved out of a snake of this huge boulder. Now, this is right in front of those boulders on the east side of South Mountain. Now, I was talking about on how that in front of this, there was more petroglyphs underneath. Like, so this dirt has been buried. All this dirt that we see here, you see all this dirt here? This has been placed here, right? And see all these rocks that are sticking up here? These are buried boulders. These are buried stones. And here, right over here, there's a petroglyph that has been buried. See what I'm talking about? And it's right over here. I made a big photograph of it, a bigger picture of it, so you can see what it looks like. But it's right here where the arrow is pointing. All right. So all this dirt here has been placed here, probably by the Native Americans, and it's on the east side. So there's a lot of burial grounds here on this side. So this is probably a burial ground. And in some of my past shows, I talk about on how the government here in Phoenix, on the east side of South Mountain, there's tons of burial grounds here, and they put golf courses on these burial grounds, and they put apartments and houses and restaurants all along the east side of South Mountain, and this is all burial grounds from the Indians. And the Indians were pissed when they were constructing all this stuff, and they were cursing at the construction crew, and they were cursing at everybody, and they had picket signs. Oh, it was a big mess when the construction crew went in there and started tearing up part of South Mountain on the east side. They started blowing stuff up, and started putting up buildings and golf courses. They're saying, look, you're playing on our ancestors. You're playing on the dead here. You're living on the dead. And this is part of it. I believe this is part of it. All this dirt here has been placed here by the Indians. It's all buried up. It's all concealed. Because all these boulders are just the height of more boulders this is just the tip of the boulders that are buried underneath. And there are petroglyphs on these boulders that has been buried. You can see the sign, the wood sign from the boulders that I was talking about in my last show, on the equinox show with the serpent. Yeah, remember that show with the serpent? Go back and check it out. This is in front of it, and you can see on how these rocks have been buried and covered. And there's petroglyphs there. I dug that up. I dug up as much as I could just to get that photograph. And then it dawned on me, wait a minute. All these other boulders here is part of, they're boulders that have been buried. And I bet you there's more petroglyphs there. And it only makes sense that this is a burial ground, because not only of the burial grounds that has already been, covered up by apartments and golf courses, but also it's on the east side. The east is sacred to the natives, because it's pointing towards the rising sun in the morning. Spirals, here we go. Spirals are doorways. And you can see a man or a creature going into this spiral doorway. And then over here on the left, we see a diamond. Look at that. We have a diamond UFO, and he's morphing. The archaeologists like to say he's anthropomorphing. He's changing shape. This UFO diamond is changing, and he's looking like a man. Okay, this living creature, this is not a spaceship we're looking at here. This is a living being, and he's morphing. He is changing. He is changing shape. He is growing arms and legs, and looks like a tail. And you see his head. That is not a head at all. That is another orb UFO. So basically what we're looking at here, we are looking at two UFOs. One is an orb and one is a diamond. You see that? And this line is coming down or going up from the diamond or the orb. Let's look at this real closely here. We have that head there is not a head. It's an orb. It's a UFO. It's an orb that we see in the skies today. And it's joining this diamond UFO. And now other things are coming off from it. So it may appear of arms. And then down here below, it may appear that it's legs. And then another line. You see the line coming down? People say that's a tail. But that's a line coming down from either the diamond UFO or the orb UFO. It's all linking together. You see that? The spirals are doorways into the underworld. Now, the Native Americans say that they're going down into the underworld on a scientific analysis. They're going down into these fault lines. These are the symbols. The spirals are the symbols of the doorways on where these beings come and go from. So like many years, I've been watching these things coming and going from South Mountain, and I'd go out there and I'd find the spirals. Right now, the spirals going clockwise is the doorway in. A spiral going counterclockwise is the doorway out. When a spiral ends down, there's a doorway right there, either in that crack or the ground. If the spiral ends up, there's a vortex. There's a door in the sky. And you only find these places, find these spirals, on certain places where these entities come and go from. So if you're on a mountain, spirals is what you want to look for. There are many petroglyph mountains scattered throughout the whole world. So a lot of these mountains are depicting, hunting and gathering, are depicting ceremonies, Kachina dancing, stuff like that. But the ones that you want to look for when you're UFO hunting are the ones that have spirals on them and anthropomorphs like this one that we see here on your screen. This is the clue. This is the key. These mountains with these spirals that are carved on it and these anthropomorphs, that is a UFO sighting right there. They're telling you that they're coming and going. These spirits of the earth and sky, these creatures, these entities are coming and going from this mountain. That is the source. That is what you want to look for. Spirals and anthropomorphs. Remember that. Here we go of a spiral. So the spiral is pointing down. See that? So the door is under this boulder or under the ground there. You see how it's purposely pointing down? You see that spiral? How it's purposely? It wants you to look, dude. You got to look down. That's the doorway. It's a symbol, and it's pointing on what it's talking about. So it's either that ground there with the arrow, or it's under this boulder here. And it's going counterclockwise, so it's a doorway out. So creatures come and go from that doorway. This is neat too. Look at this. This is all these petroglyphs, all this stuff you see is on South Mountain. So here's a bear. Look at this. I'm riding a bear. This is on Holbrook Trail. Isn't that cool? This is a carved out bear. The Native Americans, the Hohokam Indians, they carved this bear out. They carved this boulder to make it look like a bear. Now, when it's facing a pyramid hill, you can kind of see the pyramid off to the left there. You can see on how it's moving up. So there is something buried in this pyramid hill that the bear is facing. This is the reason why the bear is here and he's facing that way. He's facing towards the pyramid hill because he's telling us that there's a tomb there and there's a significant person who's buried there who either was he liked bears or he was I don't know, but he had something to do with a bear, and this is his what should I say? Maybe grave marker or his they wanted to mark him in such a way. They wanted to honor him of the bear, and so they carved this bear out of this boulder facing the pyramid on where he's buried at. This is on South Mountain. This is at the end of Holbrook Trail, and I think this next photograph here, this next photograph you can really see on how they carved things out. Look at that. Every time I do tours, I always like taking the people there to take a look at this. Isn't that neat? That is so cool. I really enjoy moving stuff all over the place. So yeah, that's the bear. It's on South Mountain, and it was purposely carved there because it's marking a tomb. that is at South Mountain. He's looking at a tomb. You can actually see. Look how much detail they did on that. You can see the carving. You can see the carving. See that? I mean, you just can't. I mean, you can't deny the evidence here. I mean, look at that. That is a bear, and it's been totally carved. Oh, I think yep. We just went off the air. So that's one of the things of being live, is stuff like that happens. So excuse me while I bring back the camera. So just examine the bear here for a second. Well, don't you love live videos? Okay. Give me a few seconds. Here we go. Live video. You get to see the studio. Isn't that neat? Okay, are we back? Oh. Let's okay, let's remove the bear. Alrighty then. Oh, we're back. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. But isn't that cool? Isn't that neat, the way that bear has been carved out? And, you know, he's facing that pyramid. So Holbrook Trail, you can find that on South Mountain. Here's a canal, Holcomb Canal. That's on the mountains of South Mountain. It's on the mountain. Look at that. You can see the canal. That is a prehistoric canal that the Indians carved. That is one of their water sources right there. And we still use these canal systems in the city of Phoenix today. That's how, you know, awesome their grid was, because we still use it today. Okay, so here we have a petroglyph on South Mountain. Now, a lot of people, you know, think that, you know, this is the lizard people up here on, that are carved on South Mountain because of its tail. And there's always a circle in the middle. And some say, well, that circle is this being, he's halfway in our world and halfway in the underworld. Well, I kind of beg to differ. After watching these orbs and seeing what they're doing, I have actually seen these orbs shapeshift and change into creatures. Especially there's one that I filmed where this orb came out of a light above South Mountain. It's on my website there. And this light was in the sky above South Mountain. This orb came out from that light, and then he morphed into a snake. He morphed into Quetzalcoatl. And so this petroglyph here is talking about this orb. This is a UFO orb that we see in the skies today, or light. This is an orb, and he's morphing, okay? He's changing shape. So again, that head could be another UFO. So we're basically looking at two UFOs here, the head and the orb, and they're morphing together, and they're anthropomorphing with these so-called arms and legs and a tail. Now that tail is kind of scary, because that tail is the thing that they use, the line that they use, not a string from a balloon like all these people are trying to say we're seeing balloons out here because, oh, they see the string. Well, it's not a string, man. It's a line. It's a scary line that picks things up. That's what the prehistoric photographs on South Mountain are depicting. Are these lines that are picking animals up, such as coyotes and deers and people. You're going to see a prehistoric photograph of one of these orbs picking up a person by this line later on in the show. But right now, we are examining this. Now, something that I really want to stress on. So let's erase that orb and just look at this symbol here. Okay? Look at that symbol there. You see, like the pitchfork? So that is scary. I'm telling you, dude. I've seen a lot of these pitchforks, if you will, on South Mountain. Now, this is a very scary symbol to me, anyway, because I understand what this pitchfork is. It's not a pitchfork at all. It's a creature, right? It's an entity. It's a UFO. I've seen this pitchfork just by itself, just like that, right, and spirals around it. Okay, and I think in this program here, I think there's a photograph here where I show a pitchfork, and I believe he's either picking a man up or he's next to a man or something like that. I think it's in this show. We'll find out here in a few minutes. But this pitchfork here, that is crazy. That is scary. I've seen a lot of these pitchfork symbols, if you will, and they're like, I don't know. I just get an eerie vibe, and I see him. Like I said, I see him picking up stuff, people and animals and stuff, and so yeah. So it's not really a leg and a tail that we're looking at here when we look at the picture, when we look at all of it. Okay. There's more to it here. It's not just a lizard man with a belly, a pregnant lizard man. No, there's more to it. All right. So first we got the pitchfork. All right. And that's a creature. That's a UFO. That's an entity. All right. Now he's morphing into an orb. See that? Look at that symbol there. You see that? So a pitchfork, and then now an orb. Now he's growing, he's morphing, and we have another orb on top, and these two lines coming out that resemble arms. And I think that head is another orb itself. So basically, in a way, and look, it's like another pitchfork. It's an upside down pitchfork. That head and the two arms and the hands supposedly, look going up. That's another pitchfork. So we have two pitchforks and an orb in the middle. And it looks like a lizard man. But we have another pitchfork there. See what I'm getting at? We have a pitchfork, we have an orb, then we have another pitchfork. See what I'm saying? So we have maybe three entities here. See that? This is how to understand petroglyphs. So UFOs have been seen. This is all these photographs here is on South Mountain, and so this is in between two pyramid hills. We're looking. This is on the east side pyramid. This is on Holbrook Trail, right? And there's two pyramids out there on Holbrook Trail. One has a tomb in it. I'm not sure about the other one, but it probably does. I really never examined that west side pyramid because it was a really hard climb, and so I kind of regret doing it. But I only investigated the east pyramid, and that's what we're looking at here. This hill, this pyramid hill here. Now this has a tomb in it, and there's a petroglyph in front of this pyramid, and it talks about the two pyramid hills. And it talks about how there's a tomb inside it. You can find that in my book, and also on some of my past shows. But this we're concentrated on the east side. We're looking east. We're looking at this hill here, this pyramid. All right. Now, UFOs have been going on, like I said, has been coming to this mountain for thousands and thousands of years. This is part of Phoenix, Arizona's history. Okay. And somebody, and I'm sure at one time that there was petroglyphs here on this rock that we see on the bottom. You see that triangle rock there? I'm sure, I guarantee that there was petroglyphs there at one time. And but what had happened was the CCC, or probably the City of Phoenix Park and Recreation people, came in and they sandblasted that petroglyph panel, because there's a lot of sandblasting going on there where they don't want you to understand, they don't want you to see that petroglyph, because now, you know, they want this park to be a family park. And sacrifice and creatures picking people up by their heads, and animal by their heads, and carrying them off into the sky isn't very family oriented. So they're taking all these petroglyphs that the public can reach, that is the public can get available to, who has access to, with these scary stories, and they sandblast them away, or they just blow them up. The CCC, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. The CCC, the Civil Conservation Corps, in the right before World War II in the 30s, early 1940s, came in and blew up a lot of petroglyphs. Okay, because why? Why are they blowing up the petroglyphs? It's because it's telling a scary story. It's saying that these serpents came down from the sky and was taking people up. It's talking about the tombs. It's talking about the sacrificing. It's talking about demons, all right? And stuff like that, scary depictions on rocks, you know, with kids right next to it, you know, on swing sets, isn't very family oriented. So they went in there and they blew up these rocks, or they sandblasted these rocks to cover up the story, because they don't want you to know. So, but now on this rock here, you know, someone must have seen a UFO here, because he came along and he spray painted he spray painted a UFO. Look at that. Let's look at, I think I have a bigger picture here. Yeah, here we go. Okay? Look what he did. And he's calling it, he's saying a UFO base. He's calling it a UFO base. See that? A UFO base. A UFO here. Okay? And he painted a little guy coming out of this craft, right? Now look at that. Look, see the line? Right, see the line, and it goes all the way to the top to the bottom. You see that there? You see how he drew that line around? It's like a half circle, and then the UFO spaceship in the middle. Number one. UFO base number one. Okay, so that he's doing exactly what the Indians are doing here. That half circle, that line going above. Oh, and look at the sun. You can even see the sun there. See the sun? So that is the mountain. And the sun is like, this is the hill, and the sun is right there. Okay? Look at the hill on your right side. All right? So he's drawing the hill. That's what that circle is, that half circle right there above the UFO. Okay, is this mountain here, and he'll put his sun right on the left side of this hill. Okay, and he's trying to tell you, he's telling you, look, UFOs are coming and going from this hill here, because he saw it. He didn't have a video camera with him. He saw it, and then he went home and he bought spray paint, and he came back, you know, to put that there. Because he wanted, you know, he wants people to know, look, I saw a UFO, man. And the sun was over here, and you can see the glare on my photograph here. You can see the glare of the sun, okay, to the left of this pyramid. Exactly where he's putting his sun, okay, to the left of the pyramid. He doesn't exactly draw, you know, a complete pyramid, but he draws a pretty good, you know, outline of the mountain there, okay. See that? And like I said before, I'm sure that there was petroglyphs there at one time, because I mean a lot of people came in and spray painted it and stuff, you know. So I mean, but that boulder sitting there, I mean, that's a perfect panel for the Hohokam Indians to carve, you know, some kind of special event that took place between these two pyramid hills. And so they sandblasted it, and so, you know, and then there's other paintings there, people graffitied Now that is no longer there, right? So this painting here you will only see now on this show, because the Parks and Recreation people of Phoenix came in and they sandblasted that away. So that is no longer there. So that you will only see that here on this show. Okay, let's get back into the petroglyphs. Here we have an orb on South Mountain, or a light. And you see the lines coming down from this beam? This is not a balloon with two strings. Okay? This is a creature. This is an orb in the sky. This is a UFO in the sky. And he's got these lines coming down from him. See that? This is a prehistoric photograph of what we call a UFO. Or what the Native Americans say are spirits. Here again. Now look at this. Okay, first let's look at it this way. Okay, let's examine this petroglyph here. Let's do it step by step. Okay, first we have the orb. All right, they're right in the middle of your screen. We have the orb. All right, not a head, but that's what it looks like a head, but that is an orb. First is an orb in the sky. Okay. Now now a line comes down. All right. Now look at that. We have an upside down pitchfork. Okay. Keep going. Now we have another orb in the sky. So now we have a barbell in the sky and a pitchfork. Okay. So we have two UFO orbs connecting with a line to make a barbell formation. And then we have two things coming out in the middle of that. Not arms, but like creatures, like part of it's like another, like an entity. He's anthropomorphing, okay? Now another line comes down, and now another pitchfork. See that? Okay, and look at that long tail. Is that a tail? No, that is a line. Okay, so we have a pitchfork here, an orb there, a barbell now, and another pitchfork. Okay, and those pitchforks, like I said, are scary. All right, and so they're all connecting together. And now we just think that it's a man, but actually it's creatures that are together, and look how big they are. See the man standing there? Look in comparison of that regular man. We know he's a regular man because he doesn't have a tail. Okay? And he is in the appeasement pose. Okay? He's got his hands up in the air like we do. He's like this. Looking up at this thing, and it's huge. It's a giant. Okay, here's another pitchfork there to the left of your screen. You see that? See that pitchfork there? This is a light and shadow marker also. This is located, let's see, on Pima Canyon on the east side. The publishers got it wrong on my book. They put it in Hieroglyphic Canyon, but that's not correct at all. This panel is located on the east side. It's facing east, and of Pima Canyon. And you have to look up to see it. You have to look up to see it. And this is part of a light and shadow marker. You can see part of the shadow from the left side of your screen there, of the sun. So yeah, we have another orb there, okay, and a pitchfork. And he's huge. A Nephilim, right? A giant, right? Because look how big he is compared to that human standing there. And I'm telling you, these things are massive. These big orange amber lights we see in the skies, they're huge. Sometimes they're so far they look like little dots, But when they're close and you see them right there at South Mountain and you're only like a mile away from them, these orange amber lights, they are huge. These creatures are huge. This thing that flew by my window one morning was about the size of a Volkswagen bus. All right, so these things are big. All right, and that's exactly what the artist is telling you, that these things are huge compared to the man, compared to humans. And there's three entities there. We have two pitchforks, we have a barbell, and connected to two orbs. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 UFOs that we're looking at there. And they're all connected together. Now here, the spiral here, and I'm pointing to the doorway. The spiral is telling us that the doorway is right there where I'm pointing at. It's underneath this boulder. That's why that spiral is there. That's where I'm pointing at. Okay, so this is part of the CCC work. All right, so the CCC, the Civil Conservation Corps, back in the early 40s, right before World War II, came in and spent two years, or like two or 3 years on South Mountain, and these people, these young men, they lived on South Mountain. They had a camp up there, about 200 people, was up there on South Mountain. And they were, not only were they mining for gold and silver, and I believe they pulled about $60,000 worth of precious metals out from South Mountain just by their own minings. There's tons of mines there. I might do a show on some of the mines that I discovered out there on South Mountain. But the CCC, they were mining, and they were making trails, and they were making swing sets, and they were making a public park, a place to bring your family. And they were also blowing up petroglyphs, like I said earlier. They were destroying petroglyphs. Why? Why were you blowing up these boulders with petroglyphs on it? Because it was depicting something kind of demonic. It was depicting these flying serpents. You can see here on this petroglyph here that it was a flying serpent. It was a flying snake. There's an orb right there above him. Okay, now they made this a wall. They look at that. Look at the rest of it. You can see they blew it up. They blew up this petroglyph, this panel, and they used the pieces to make art out of them on this concrete wall that they made. You see the boulders and the things. You can see some of the debris from the boulders in with this wall, and then the concrete and stuff like that. And they use this for art now. They blew up the boulders to get rid of the story, but they kept some of the pieces to try to make it look pretty, on these walls out here. Next to the ranger's office that's up there on South Mountain. That's where this is at. There's a ranger's office. If you follow that road and you keep going all the way into the park and you keep going, you run into some bathrooms and you run into a park ranger like type of museum or office there. And this parking lot, you can see a big boulder. I don't show the boulder in this photograph, but there's a big boulder there with petroglyphs on it, and then they have this petroglyph that's been blown up, and this wall that was made, this platform that was made from the blown up petroglyphs. And why are they doing that? Because they don't want you to know. Because a lot of these petroglyphs, they're talking about the demonic creatures. They're talking about tombs, out there on South Mountain. And once you understand the glyphs, once you understand the interpretations of the glyphs, then you know the story. Then you know where to find not only the next story, but also certain areas, where these things come and go from, but also where the gold is located at. Also where the tombs are at. You understand the glyphs, you understand the story, you understand the people, you understand the landscape, you understand where the secret places are. And this is how most of the time I was able to find these tombs, simply by understanding the petroglyphs, by reading the petroglyphs, by understanding the people and the landscape and what was going on here. It led me to a lot of these tombs that are located on the mountains of South Mountain. Okay, so Like, here's another example. UFOs have been seen there for over 1,000 years, and it's continuing to be seen there. And somebody, this is on the south side of South Mountain, somebody has gone and carved what they saw. They saw something in the sky. Okay, now, and they did it perfectly too. They did it completely perfect. So maybe this guy was, Native American. Maybe he knew what he was doing, for one. Okay, because when you look at the petroglyphs, you have to look at the whole landscape. Now, if there's a petroglyph high up on a cliff or a ridge, the artist is telling you, look, you have to look up to see my art. Okay, there's a reason for that. It's not just there, to look pretty. No, it's there for a reason. He wants you to look up into the sky, okay, because he's telling you that he saw something in the sky. This is why you have to look up to see his art, to see the Native Americans' art. That's why that's up there on this high cliff. It's because that's where the sighting took place at. Here, this guy here, that's why when I take the photographs, I take the photographs of the sky also. Okay, not just the art, but the sky also, because you have to put that in there, because he's telling you, look, I saw something above South Mountain. I didn't have a camera with me, but I had these rocks. I have these crystals like the Indians did, and I climbed up there, and I want you to see what I saw exactly in the exact same space, in the same area. And this is what he saw. He saw this UFO, this creature, in the sky, right where this petroglyph was carved at, right here in the sky, this open sky right here. He's telling you that's where he saw it at. And on the bottom, on the ground, he's perfect. This guy did great. On the ground, look what he did. In 2006, Bruce saw this. And he points right at that UFO that he carved up there. So he's telling us that Bruce in 2006 saw this UFO in the sky. Isn't that great? Perfect. Absolutely perfect. If I knew who this was, I'd totally congratulate this guy. I would totally interview him, and I would totally, just give this guy my deepest regards, because this guy did it great. He went out there and he did exactly what the Native Americans did. But see, he can write, now. Back then they didn't have language. But here, he's in 2006, Bruce saw a UFO in the sky. And he carved it high up on the rock because he's telling us, look, I saw this in the sky. Awesome, Bruce. Way to go, brother. And if you're watching this program, please contact me, man, because we got a lot to talk about, man. You did great. You did great on that. That's just awesome. That's perfect. What a wonderful job, man. You're just great. So please contact me, Bruce, if you're watching this program. Okay, so here, this is kind of interesting. Now, this is on Box Canyon. This is high up on Box Canyon on the east side of South Mountain, kind of in the middle of east side of South Mountain on Box Canyon, high up. Now, let's look at this here for a minute. This is kind of graphic, so parental discretion is advised. So we have a woman, okay? Now, the artist is using this natural hole in the stone to include it with his art. Now, this is pretty much self-explanatory here. We have a woman, and she's in her menstrual cycle. Okay, you can actually see the blood coming from her womb there, if you want to call it that. So it's her time of the month. She's on the rack. She's having a period. Okay. Now, let's look at all this stuff that's around her. See all these animals that it's attracting? Look at that. See, the animals are coming around now because they smell that blood, right? There's a man there. And look at this over here. Not only does it attract the animals, but it also attracts the entities. Now, let's concentrate on this entity here. Let's look at this UFO here. See that there? See that creature there? You see the box? See that there? I'm talking about that. That's an orb. Okay? That's an orb. And a line is coming down, not a string, not a balloon, not a string, but a line. It's coming down from the orb, and it's shape-shifting. Okay, now he's a box looking thing, and now he's like half creature. Look at that. He's got like, now he's like an animal. All right, you see that on the right side of him? You see that? He's anthropomorphing. Okay, and that box on the bottom here, that crooked box. Now, if you guys know my UFO sightings, I matched the exact same type of I call it a crooked snake in the sky. And there's petroglyphs of people looking up at a crooked snake in the sky. And that box, that crooked snake on the bottom of this glyph here, that box looking thing, okay, that's like I call it a crooked snake. I don't know what else to call it. But that is a UFO. That is a creature. That's an anthropomorph. Okay? So not only is it attracting, well, there's some people there, all right, the animals and things like that, but it's also attracting these beings in the sky. So, you know, when it and it says in Genesis, it says the Nephilim took mankind's brides, or the women of men, to bore giants. When we read that panel, when we read that type of that ancient text, and then we look at this panel here, you know, it's kind of eerie. It gives me an eerie feeling, you know. But here we can see on how, you know, the Native American, he used a natural hole in with his lands, in with his art. So, and this is probably the spot where the women would come, you know, when it was that time of the month, because it was like an open clearing when I found this glyph here. It was an open clearing, right? So it was probably a place to sit and maybe have some other things going on there. You know, we won't get into that. But there was a flat area there. And this picture here, this carving here of what took place there. It's history. It's a photograph of what took place here in this canyon. So the Nephilim, they came down. They took the brides of man, and they bore giants. Is this a photograph of what it's talking about there? It's very possible. Here again, the artist is making you look up. Okay, this is on Holbrook Trail. He's making you look up. Those of you who know my UFO sightings know that I filmed the exact same entity in the sky. It looks like a whale. This is on Holbrook Trail, on the east side of Holbrook Trail, facing north. Now, it looks like a whale, but it's not. It's a creature. It's a UFO. There's a spiral doorway there. And we have to look up to see it. Notice how I take a photograph of the sky also, because that is part of the interpretations on this panel, is you have to look up. That's the reason why it's high up on the rock, is because not only is the doorway up there on where this entity came out of, but it's what was seen. He saw it in the sky. There's another spiral there to the left of your screen. We have these crooked lines over here on the right, kind of in the middle of your screen there, those zigzag patterns. All right, so that's either energy or it could be another entity. It's really hard to distinguish on exactly what the artist is trying to say. So it kind of, I would think that it's kind of I would think it's probably another UFO, probably another creature. But again, we have to look up to see this art because this is what was seen in the sky on South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. This is directly below that art panel. This is a prehistoric oven. This is an oven, and this clay here, this clay that they made it out of, this is not natural. I don't know. They had a secret ways of making some kind of concrete or something. All right, so all this stuff here is not natural. They use the natural rocks, stuff like that, but to make it, seal like that, to actually make it, harden. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So, these beings from the earth and sky, these spirits of the earth and sky taught these people the secret incantations, the secret ways that mankind was not meant to understand. And I think this was one of them. Here you can see the fire pit on the bottom, and then you can see the chimney. You can see part of the smoke, part of the chimney there, of the smoke. So isn't that interesting? And this is directly underneath, on the ground of where that petroglyph whale, supposed whale with the spiral that we just looked at. This is on the very bottom, on the ground of that petroglyph. Isn't that amazing? Here we have a man. This is a man. Now look at that crack there. He is oriented towards that crack, meaning he's going into the crack. He wants to go into that doorway, into the underworld. And that crack right there is the doorway to the underworld. That's why he's there. Here we go. We have this orb in the sky. Look at that. Let's do this again. We have a UFO. We have an orb or light. Let's examine the petroglyph here. Let's take a good look at this. First, it's a light. Now he's making this line. See that line there? It's not a balloon, people. Not a string. It's a line. And look what he's doing. He is picking up a man. His line is absorbing this man. See that? And so the Native Americans, the Indians here in Phoenix say that they were taken away by these spirits. They were taken away by these UFOs. This is exactly how it was done. This UFO had this line to come down and absorb the man. That's exactly how these people were taken away by Phoenix, Arizona. This is how the Hohokam people disappeared. They did not migrate somewhere else because it got too hot, because of drought, like the archaeologist wants to tell you. This is a photograph of what happened to them. These creatures of the sky, of the earth and sky, these UFOs, these beings, these Phoenix lights, has the capability of picking things up and taking them up into the sky. This is stuff that is not being told to you, but the evidence is there. The prehistoric photographs of history of Phoenix, but this information is not told to you. It's been covered up. It's a secret. They don't want you to know this. They would rather watch you, on some of these other shows talking about spaceships and aliens and this and that, but not what the evidence says. They totally dismiss this type of information. They just say, well, it's an Indian carving, just a story on a rock. No, dude, it's not just that. He's telling you a story. He's telling you what had happened here because he wants you to understand what happened here. Here again, this is up on Hieroglyphic Canyon, and I'm pointing at a giant. This is one of the cable shows that I did, and I'm showing the cameraman there a depiction of a giant. Now look at the man on the bottom. He's looking up at the giant. This is video from one of the shows I did. This is Hieroglyphic Canyon on South Mountain. Here again, we have what could be there's a man, if you want to say that. We have a man looking up at a diamond. Not a spaceship, not a craft, but a diamond. And those of you who have been following me all these years know that I filmed a few diamonds in the sky myself. Now this is on the east side of the pyramid that I was talking about earlier on Holbrook Trail, the east side of the two pyramids. All right, the one that I said had a tomb on it, the one that had the painting of a UFO facing that mountain there. So this is halfway up on the pyramid, okay, of this tomb. All right, on Holbrook Trail. Now there you can see I'm way up there, okay. I'm standing way up there. Or you can see how I'm sitting there. You can see the distance here. So I'm way up there. This is like halfway up on the pyramid. All right, and there's petroglyphs there. I had to climb all the way up there to get these photographs of the pyramids. Now the pyramids show, the petroglyphs show these creatures. Now let's examine right here in the middle of your screen. You see the guy there? And then you see that type of entity, and he's picking that man up. We have a barbell to the left. We have like a tadpole to the right. Oh, I'm sorry. To the left. And then the barbell, and then the man, and then the creature picking that man up. You see that? Right down in the middle of your screen. There's a man there, and this creature is picking that man up. And then over here to the right of your screen, we have another man watching, and we have another guy over here on the bottom right there, and he's kind of wigging out also. He's kind of watching. So this is telling me this panel, because it's so high, and you can stand exactly right there. It's all shaved out. Look at that. Look at the rocks there. Look at the background. Look at the rocks and where it's carved at. You can see how perfectly it's been shaved, all right, and smooth. You see that? And you can stand right where I'm sitting at. You can stand up. So this petroglyph is telling me that people used to stand right here, and these entities came by and picked these people up into the sky. Picked up whoever was standing there or whoever was sitting there, like myself, would come down. These creatures would come down and pick these guys up, pick these people up. Right here on the side of this pyramid hill. Okay, so I'm running out of time. All right, so this is neat too. This is on South Mountain. All right, and this is a tree. Look at that. You see that? This is not a carving. This is a fossil. This is a fossil. All right, and it's embedded on the wall of South Mountain, of one of the canyons here on South Mountain. Isn't that neat? Isn't that incredible? That's not a carving. That's like a type of fossil. How that tree got into that rock, I don't have a clue. I have no idea. But I discovered that, on my hiking, in South Mountain. I'm like, dude, look at that tree on that wall. Isn't that neat? You won't ever see anything like this, but here on this show. So make sure you subscribe and you share this channel for me. And isn't that crazy though? Isn't that really neat? It's like a fossil of a tree. How that got formed, I have no idea. But it's so cool to see. And I'm so glad that I discovered it and I found it and I took a picture of it to share with you guys today. Okay, here we go again. Are we talking about spaceships? Are we talking about crafts? No. Look what these people are looking up into the sky. Look what they're looking at. Is that a spaceship? No. It's like a type of animal. You see that creature there? He's got legs. Why is he flying? And again, we have to look up to see this glyph. This glyph is oriented towards the sky, meaning this is flying. These beings are flying in the sky. We have the spiral, diamond spiral there, okay? And we have it going down and going up so that there's a doorway in the sky and also on the ground there. And we have people looking up at this flying creature in the sky. Okay, are we dealing with spaceships here? No, this is another living being. This is another life form. These are creatures, animals, if you will, in the sky. They are alive. They are conscious. They know who's watching and who's not watching. This is how they're getting away with being in our sky for so many years. All right, because they know who's watching and who's not. They're highly intelligent animals. And we can talk more about that panel, but I'm running out of time here. Maybe on the next show, I'll talk more about what's going on there and how it's relevant to pages in some of these ancient scrolls that we read. Okay, look at this again. Look at that diamond. See that guy? He's looking up at a diamond. A diamond UFO. Is it a spaceship? No, these things are creatures. This thing is in the sky. This guy he's in the appeasement pose. He's worshiping this being in the sky. Here we go on South Mountain on the east side. All right, so this is interesting too. Hopefully I got enough time to talk about this. All right, so to the left we have a spiral doorway. Okay, and those dots, this is high up on a cliff again. This is high up on a rock. And this is high up on a rock. And those little dots that you see in the middle right there, those are actually gunshots. Those are bullet holes. So somebody in the past has taken their gun and it was actually trying to shoot at that spiral, shoot at that target. Okay, so that's what those holes are. Those little white dots. Those are bullet holes. those are bullet marks. And then we have something in the middle. Now that arrow, you see the arrow? Let's concentrate on what that arrow is looking at. If you look really hard, really hard, you can see an outline of this lizard to the right. We see the lizard to the right there, but let's look in the middle where the arrow is pointing at. Look at that. See the very faint shadow or spirit of this lizard? You see that there? Okay, you see that? All right, and then he's solid. All right, so basically what's going on here is we have a door. And this spirit, he is coming out of the door. And he's like a ghost. You can see through him. As he gets further away from the door, as he emerges up into the sky, he becomes more solid. That is what this petroglyph is talking about. Okay? And then we have a guy down below. We have a man there. He's looking up at this lizard. So this petroglyph panel is telling us, and I've seen it too. I've videotaped this. So, you know, when Dave, the Native American, was telling me about how these are doorways for the spirits and doorways for these things, you know, I'm thinking spaceships, technology. How can, you know, a big craft get into a crack like that? because I'm still learning. I didn't understand yet that these aren't spaceships, that these are creatures that are alive. So when he's telling me that these cracks, are the doorways to the underworld for these beings, I'm like, dude, how can a big spaceship get into a crack like that? Until I actually saw it. I witnessed it with my own eyes. I filmed this entity come down from the sky, and he was solid. When he's in the sky, he's solid, right? And then he's shape-shifting, he's morphing. Sometimes he was changing colors. And then when he got closer to the mountain, he became like a ghost. You could see through him. He was like a spirit. That's why the Indians call these things spirits, because you can see through him. He was a ghost. He was like he was just a transparent entity. And then he just absorbed himself into the rock. And I'm like, whoa, man. And same thing when they come out of the rocks. They're like a transparent entity. They come out of the stone, out of the mountain. You can see through them. And as they get further away from the door, that's when they become more solid. They shape-shift, they change color, going up in the sky very slowly, shape-shifting, morphing, moving, doing their own thing. They just came out of that doorway. And they look like a spirit. They look like a ghost. And that's exactly what this petroglyph is trying to tell us, is that when this spirit lizard came out of the doorway, and we know it's a doorway out because it's going spiral. It's counterclockwise. All right, so it's a doorway out, right? And the spiral is ending down. So it's the doorway is on the bottom here, okay? And he's coming out of the door. He's coming out of the emergence point, and he's a spirit. He's first a spirit, he's transparent, and now when he gets further away from the door, he becomes more solid. That's exactly what these things do. That's exactly what the artist is trying to tell us. That when these creatures, and is it a spaceship? Did he draw a spaceship? No, he drew an animal. Okay, he drew a lizard, right? And he's telling us, look, when these things come out of the doors, there's spirit. You can see through them. And they become more solid as they venture out. Okay, that's it with the petroglyphs. Now, let's look at some of these sightings, some of these UFO sightings that was sent to me of these lights. Let's take a look at this one here. Look at that. You see that? No, these aren't Chinese lanterns. These aren't, anything to that nature. They're not flares, okay? These are what we are looking for, people. This is the type of stuff. This is real UFO evidence, real footage here. Not computer-generated flying saucers, little gray guys and living in closets that the grandfathers take care of. Okay, these things are living entities. These things are alive, all right? And these are the exact same sightings that people are seeing and filming around the world. This is like the Phoenix Lights here, the exact same stuff. Now I'm not really sure where that was filmed at. I think it was filmed here in the United States. Now let's look at Canada. This happened in Canada. This video here I'm about to play. You see that? The exact same type of stuff. One's filmed in Canada, one filmed in the United States. Isn't that crazy? The exact same stuff. And, those of you who have been following me know that the Phoenix Lights flew over my apartment in 2009. We had a big cluster of these lights going right over our heads. And I got great footage of these beams, of these lights. This is not some spaceship. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's a cloaked ship, especially when you see them in a triangle formation. Just because they're in a triangle formation doesn't make it a TRB-3, doesn't make it a spaceship, does not make it a craft. Okay, just because you see them in a triangle formation doesn't mean that is a spaceship. They are just simply in a pyramid formation. Each light is a creature. Each light is a living being. These things are alive. You see that on your right side? That's not a TR-3B. That's not a spaceship. Okay? These things, they're just flying information like that. Here we go on the left. You can kind of see the triangle there on your left. Great stuff. Great stuff. Thank you guys for sending me your videos. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any UFO videos you want me to take a look at and air it on the show, please send me your videos. Please send me your petroglyph panels, things like that. And if it's good, if I like it, you know, we will talk about it and I'll give you credit. And yeah, man. Okay, I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for today's show. There's what? Almost 2 hours again. Boy, I can just ramble, can I? Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel, The Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. Make sure it says The Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky, not just Petroglyphs in the Sky. That is somebody else. That YouTube page is getting ready to be taken down. So make sure it's The Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. Please subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.